I've been asked a question about hem walls, where how it is supposed to be done and what is the topic that is supposed to be covered. Now, when we talk about hem walls, it is basically we don't have a separate command for it. We have a command called as flange. Now, in the flange command, we have few options, which are different types of walls that can be created. That's very simple. You just have to take one particular edge and this creates an eye wall, and it's a standard shape. Now when we go and edit definition it, and we can change into arc, where it almost looks like an arc that you can see here. It looks like an arc. Now similarly, whatever values that you want to change, you can change it from here, or you can directly go into the sketch option and placement of the sketch, where you can say end of the wall, or through a certain reference I can select a plane and I can place it there, and I can get it over with if I want to change the values through the sketcher. Now I can come out of this. Let's not go into that. It's very simple. You already know that. What we can do inside this is, if I change these three types that you see here, I, arc, and S. Now these are the standard shapes. Now it looks like an S, that is what it means. And you have a lot of dimensions coming into picture, and oops, my mouse is acting funny. I'm going back again, where what happens is, you can see it has created something like an S. So we need to we need to know these are the standard shapes that you can see. Now when is it's called as an hem walls, is because you change the shape into a different place. Now what does an hem mean? Basically, to fold a sheet metal into a certain shape, where it can be used for a locking mechanism, where you can create this gap, and you can say another sheet metal is coming into sliding motion into the shape here, and it has been riveted together. That is one of the example. Now while doing the body of the bus, a transportation vehicle, where you can the two of the sheets are aimed together in opposite fashions, and one of the sheet metal will be something like this, and another sheet metal would go inside this and slide it in, and it's riveted together. So we can always use these kind of shapes to for locking mechanisms, or sliding and making it properly sitting inside, for a function, for so many, for different shapes building. So these shapes are called as M's. Now what happens in this place is, I have different shapes in this. So open, flushed, duck, C, and Z is considered as hem walls. Okay, so you can see these are called as your I shapes or standard shapes. Now when we go and select flushed option, you have flushed is basically the second one which I had selected, that was this open, where it creates a gap. Now but flushed is always closed in the direction opposite of the selection which we have done, and it is completely closed, and it is pressed. It's basically using for ending features of any plate that has been created. Now we have something called as a duck, where it is the shape is something like this, where always you can go back into the shape and change the values respectively given. Now this is what is called as hem walls, but sometimes some of these flanges will not work with all the sides. Now I want to select, now let's say when we actually talk about the placement part. Now the advantage between two of the features that we use here, that would be the flat and the flange. Now these are the two features which are there separately. Now flat basically does for a single edge. Flange can be done used for multiple edges simultaneously. So what happens inside this is, I have already a flange. Let me edit that. I have only selected one of the edges. Now a regular selection which we already know is by holding control and selecting multiple edges, but that is not possible here. So let me remove that, and you can see if I try to select it, it is not going to get selected. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get inside the detail part, where my detail selection gets activated. So what I'm going to do inside this is I'm just going to hold control, and inside this place I can select it. Now it is not the only way. We have something called as rule based. Let me remove all the edges which I have selected. What I'm going to go is rule based. Now there are different methodologies where if I say tangent, and whichever edge is that is tangential to it is getting selected. You can see that. Now here similarly I have something called as a partial loop. Now what happens is it is starting from one of the edges, and it is gonna, sorry, my mouse is acting funny here again. Let me just change that. Edit definition. I would go to placement. I would say details. I would remove this, and I would go back into the rule based. I would say partial loop. I would select one of the edges, and I would again, sorry, I would select the other end of the loop as the extend reference. So where what happens is I can select one of the edges, and you can see that this side of the edge has been selected, and it's an open loop. Now if it is an open loop, or if it is an open extension, it would give you a flip where you can change the direction of, I can take the other side of the loop. That's the reason partial loop has been given. Now if I take the complete loop, what happens? The complete loop has been selected. You can see that it's been highlighted in red. So what we can do is I would go back to the partial loop option. I would say OK. No, sorry, I forgot that. I would change this edge flat to this place, and I would say OK. Now you can see the complete sides has been selected, and sorry, uh, this is how it works. Now if I want to change the type, now always flushed doesn't work, and I have seen a lot of people having problem with this. Even I had problems before. So what happens is sometimes you might have to offset by value, and you need to increase the gap sometimes. I guess it's not coming here. What we can do is let's just uncheck few of them, and for few of the references it doesn't work. So let me just remove that. Say OK, and you can see it is coming. We can change. Let's try it out for another one. Let's say let me just extend till here, and see it doesn't work. So you just have to select it for a single edge. Now flushed is giving trouble because it is getting combined in this place where it is forming a corner. Now that is where it starts creating a problem. Since it's a very tight corner, it will not be able to cut it out. For this, I would check it up, and I would let you know again how we can do it. So this is how the M walls are created. But there are a few other options that you can see here. One of the options that was also asked for me was meter cuts. Now meter cuts in this option, in this place, it would be null and void. It would not be applied in this place. Let's say S open. You can see how the edges are getting created in this place. It is not going to be same in this area. This area, it's filleted. Now normally these areas are formed. They are formed shapes normally when a fillet, when a certain shape needs to be bended, or it's a difficult shape. So let me just edit this. I would remove the placements once. I would select this edge, and it is I would use detail option. I would go to rule base. I would say tangent. Very easy. So now in this situation, if I off the meter cuts, it's not going to form it. The meter cuts can be applied only in this situation. Now what happens? Let's say if I change the direction of my material addition, I would see, now you can see that the material addition, what's going to happen. Let's change it to I, and let's change the direction of addition. Now see, you can see the shape is forming here. After a certain extent, in this place, it is going to merge. So it is going to overlap. So it is not going to form after that. So when we on the meter cut, what happens is after a certain extent, when I extend this, it starts cutting the material. Now the curve is ignored. Now that is where it's used, and what is the gap between them is maintained by this, and you can always give the thickness. Okay, so this is how a meter cut works. These were the few of the doubts which one of my trainer asked, and this is how it can be fixed. And hope you have understood this meter cuts and the hem shapes. Now let me give back to you once again. I, arc, and S is your standard shapes. Open, flushed, and duck, and Z and C are uh, your basic hemmed walls or hem shapes, which we call, and this is where it is useful. Thank you.